Lindsay, let's start with the recommendations that stand out most to you. What are they?
Now, I think that there's two things that we heard consistently from authors in this report. And one is that Asians are looking for continuity, and two, that they're looking for stability. The United States has played a really important role in Asia for the last 60 years. Our presence, our leadership has essentially allowed a lot of nations to move hundreds of millions of people out of poverty. And in the next couple decades, those are going to be the same people that are increasingly moving into the middle class. That's an imperative for leaders in these countries. And so they're really looking for the United States to play a very consistent role in the region as it has for decades.
So what are the biggest concerns in this region in particular?
You know, I think at the moment, in this moment of transition, there are two concerns. One is that the United States is essentially going to be distracted, that we may basically retrench from the region. We're going to be focused on events in the Middle East, we're going to be focused on problems at home, and we're not going to be paying attention to Asia in the way that they would like. The second is the flip side. It's a bit of a too hot, too cold type of problem. The other is they see the call that President-elect made to the leader of Taiwan. They see some of the rhetoric between China and the United States right now, and there's a concern that perhaps if U.S.-China relations go south, if they sour, that would have an impact economically, politically, on the security front for the entire region.
Is there a particular relationship that you see most at risk? I mean, could it be China?
I think a lot of times with political transitions in the United States, especially presidential transitions, at the beginning of that transition, there is often a little bit of a bumpy period while the United States and China, as perhaps the two 800-pound gorillas in the room, adjust to each other. Particularly right now in China, they are going through transitions of their own. So it is a moment of uncertainty, and I think it's important that everyone proceeds cautiously and they proceed thoughtfully.
Now, there's been rapid technological and military modernization in that region of the world, which could ratchet up the possibility of an Asian security crisis given Trump's more aggressive stance towards China. How likely do you think it is that something like that actually happens?
You know, I don't think it's in anyone's interest in Asia. The United States, China, no one has an interest in a security crisis. There is a lot on the line. The impact to the global economy would be staggering. And I think all countries in the region, all leaders in the region realize that. Where the real risk is of inadvertent crisis, a miscalculation. And that's where I think transparency and regular dialogue is going to be particularly important, especially in the coming months and years.
So what counts as a miscalculation? Is taking a call from the president of Taiwan or dismissing the one China policy? Is that a miscalculation?
You know, I think unclear what the intent was behind the call to the leader of Taiwan. And so I won't speak for the incoming administration on that. What I would say is that on the one China policy, I think it has been the basis of U.S. policy for decades. Republican and Democratic administrations have both used our one China policy as the foundation of how we engage China. It's the most consequential bilateral relationship in the world right now. And so I think you have to keep that as the foundation going forward.
Trump maintains that the president of Taiwan called him, we should say. One of the most promising areas of cooperation between China and India has actually been over climate change and energy security. Are those relationships under threat given Trump's belief that climate change is a hoax?
Well, you know, he has said of late that perhaps he has an open mind on these issues. And we saw several of our authors consistently say that they felt like this was an area that the United States should not dismiss lightly the progress that had been made. In particular, the Paris Agreement this past year is not only important because of the potential environmental impacts, but also because sometimes climate change is an area where countries like the United States and China, who may be seeking places to cooperate, it gives them an entree where other things may be too sensitive. And so these are important issues to continue to make progress on. They are domestic imperatives for countries like China and India. And so I think we should keep an open mind about looking for continued progress in that area.